What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and wrapping up the preseason, unfortunately, with another loss. But in my opinion, it's better to go through preseason, pick up a couple losses, have a couple poor performances, so that way either you can look at and say, okay, these players either need to step up or need to be pushed out, or we need to go get somebody that can step into these holes that we have in the team and start to bring our club even higher. Because honestly, past two games have shown a couple players who maybe played well against Arsenal didn't step up the past two games and have really looked poor the past two games. And so I think it's either a sign that they need to step up before the season starts, or we need to go get somebody that can replace them, or something. We just need to do something for a couple of these players. So in my opinion, it's not a terrible result. It's still, the first goal, completely the referee's fault. No penalty in that at all. Even Jovetic was still trying to win the ball on the ground. He didn't even think it was a penalty. So yeah, you got that. Their second goal was our mistake. Our only goal was an own goal from them, so a mistake by them. And then Batshuayi did have a goal that was wrongly ruled offside. So, we have a goal that's ruled out. They have a goal that's given to them by the referees. It easily could have been 2-1 us. So you can't really look at this and say, oh, this is a terrible result for Chelsea, and oh, this means the end of the world. And all the people that were freaking out and saying Conte is underrated just because there's one poor game against Bayern Munich. Come on. I mean, this is preseason. I mean, people aren't looking at our result against Arsenal and saying, oh, clearly Arsenal aren't going to be in the title challenge because Chelsea dominated. They're not looking at Arsenal's win over Bayern Munich and saying, oh, look, Arsenal can beat Bayern. They're ready for anything this season. You got to take it with a grain of salt, all of these games. So with that in mind, looking into this game, we have a pretty similar lineup to last game, but David Luiz comes back into the center, and instead of Boga up in the front three, we now have Morata playing in behind Batshuayi alongside Willian. So, looking at the first half, it wasn't a very poor first half. It was a bit back and forth. We had a few little shaky moments defensively, and attacking-wise, we got a few good balls played forward that didn't really turn into much. Second half started off, though, and we looked really weak to start off second half. I mean, they got a goal fairly early on, and we were just looking so weak defensively. Rudiger came on, though, and Alonso came off, and we started to look a little bit more solid. We still didn't look great. They still had a lot of counterattack chances on us. We still weren't creating much up front. And then Musonda and Boga came on, and they came on with a lot of pace and energy, and that's when things really started to go our way. And then eventually, the own goal happened from a lot of pressure, and then we should have had an equalizer from Batshuayi a few moments later. So, we clearly stepped up, especially when some of our more fresh players came on. And I think that's just something overall that I'm going to give a couple players maybe a bit of an excuse for this game, because most of these starters have been playing a lot this preseason, and it's still preseason, so they're not fully ready to play a game, 2 days later another game, 2 days later another game. They're not ready for that yet, and a lot of them have. A lot of them had to play most of these games in preseason, so that's a lot to do. So I'm going to look at it through kind of those sort of glasses. I'm going to realize that some of these players do have a bit of an excuse because preseason has been a rough one. They have done a lot of traveling, a lot of training in between. This is something to sort of wear you out and then try to play under those conditions. And a couple of them did pretty well, a couple of them didn't look too good. So just trying to keep that in mind throughout most of these individual performance reviews. So first of all, talk about Courtois in goal. He played the full 90 minutes this time, no changes. I don't know who was on the bench, whether it was Caballero or Eduardo, but Conte decided to give him the full 90 today. He had a couple really good saves he had to make. He did save the first penalty, although he pushed it. It's really hard to say, oh, you saved the penalty, but you should have done better here. But realistically, the save should have been pushed wide, but instead, when he saved it, he pushed it back across the goal to where nobody is there. And of course, nobody else helped him, because I watched and there were 5 Inter players running in, and the rest of the Chelsea players were just standing top of the box. So it's not like they helped him at all, but you would say if you are making the save, which he did make a good save, you still want to try to make a great save by pushing it wide and away from the goal instead of just pushing it back across so it's an easy tap in. So hard to really fault him for that, but you do hope that if he can get there, he can do better. But then the second goal, I think he really should have gotten down a lot quicker. You know, it was right beside him. Obviously, you're trying to cover your near post, so you want to, you're not really focused on your far post that much. But at the same time, when it's right here, like beside you, you really should get a leg out, get your hand down, get something on it. But he just didn't get down fast enough. He didn't get anything out onto it. So the second goal, he should have done a lot better. But he did make a few good saves that I'll say bumped him up to a slightly above average game. Defensively, Azpilicueta still looks a bit like he's struggling in preseason. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know if maybe he's just really worn out from all the training they've been doing, from all the games they've been playing. But he really looks... He was our best defender by far last season. I mean, there's so much that he did for us. He saved so many games. He had so many great moments on the field. Even though David Luiz looked good coming out of the defense, pressuring into the midfield, and that's why a lot of people noticed him over just Azpilicueta, who was just consistent in the back. He was just our best defender. That's what he was last season. So far this season, it just hasn't looked good in preseason. He's had far too many moments where he's dove in. He's had far too many moments where he's been caught out or he's not tracking a player, he's not closing him down. He hasn't really been helped by the fact that Moses doesn't seem to be very defensively focused, but I'll talk about him in a second. But yeah, he hasn't looked as good as he was last season, and I find that very disappointing for him. When he moved out to the right wing back whenever Rudiger came in second half, he looked a little bit stronger there just because he didn't have to focus as much defensively. But I still just think watching him play, he's not as confident to close down and get close to a player as he was last season. He's giving him way too much space, and that's not the Azpilicueta I know. So I'm wondering if something's going on, if maybe he's just struggling with maybe an injury that he's carrying. I don't know, but I hope he steps it up before the season begins because it's kind of scary to see that right now. David Luiz in the middle, he is the most fresh defender that we had on the field today because he didn't play but a little bit last game. So he definitely looked the best out of all of them for that reason, I think, alone. He still pretty much did what he normally does, came out of the defense, up into the midfield, won a lot of headers in the air, challenged somebody in the midfield so they didn't have time to turn. But that still does lead to several moments where he gets caught diving in and somebody's just playing a quick 1-2 around him and now he's stuck in no man's land. So I do like the fact that he's willing to come into the midfield and pressure and put hard pressure on somebody, but at the same time it comes with the caveat that you can't just go flying into midfield and leave your other defender stranded with nobody in the center to help out. So I still think that's going to hurt him when we face the top teams that can move the ball really well up top. That's going to be where he struggles the most. So I hope he can sort of learn from that and hopefully improve from those situations. And then Cahill, I am going to throw out there that I realize he probably isn't used to having to play 3 games in, 8 days, I think, something like that. So I'm going to give him that. However, considering the fact that he is supposed to be our captain this season, I'm still not seeing it. And that is probably the biggest frustration for me. I'm not seeing the organization that he should be bringing to the defense. I'm not seeing him do stuff that I'm just like, yes, that's what you want your captain to do. Yes, that's where you want your captain to step in. Yes, that's where you want your captain to just be there. Be that leader in the back. Whether you're leading by your voice or leading by your actions, I just want him to lead, and I don't see it. Occasionally he'll throw himself in front of a shot, but everybody does that anyway. David Luiz does it, Azpilicueta does it. They all do it at some point, so the defense already does that. You have to do more. You have to be willing to put yourself out there, really be everywhere. Put pressure on everybody if you can. I don't know. I just don't see enough from him. I do not see enough from him to say, yes, that's the leader. That's our captain back there. I just don't see it. So, still really frustrated with him, but hopefully it's just because he was really tired today from all the games they've been playing, and it's not because he's still the player that I saw last year. because last year I was just really disappointed with him. Onto the wingbacks, Alonso is one of those players that I talked about. Looked really good against Arsenal. The past two games have really struggled. I mean, I can't think of anything today where I'm just like, yes, that's why we have Alonso out there. He's just so slow-footed this game and against Bayern, and it's just that's it. That's all you've got. You can beat one player, great. Now what are you going to do with it? Oh, you're going to cut another guy that's on you, and now you're going to cut into pressure, and now you've lost the ball, and now you're out of position. You can't get back on defense because you're too slow. I mean, their first chance of the game came because he lets the guy get in behind him, and he's too slow to catch up. And if it weren't for David Luiz with a bit of speed to get back there, it probably would have been a goal in the first 2 minutes of the game. So he's either got to improve, or we need to get somebody in there that can do both sides of the ball, and we don't have to worry about, oh no, are we going to be left stranded, because Alonso's in there. It's really frustrating to watch him at times because that there are better players out there. We've been talking about getting Alex Sandro for I don't even know how long, and we've still got Marcus Alonso at left back. So he needs to improve, or we need to go get somebody that can take that place from him and really show him how it needs to be played and the intensity that he should have and the speed that he should have. Moses on the other side, not a bad game, but still not effective. This has probably been his worst preseason performance, but that's not because he's been playing poorly. It's just because the past few preseasons where he's been trying to force his way into the first team, he's really impressed. This year, I don't know if it's because he's already in the first team or what it is, but he just looks so much less effective than he was the last two preseasons that I've seen him. Just not as effective on the ball. He's getting into the right positions, but can't do anything when he's on it. Defensively, he's not getting back and helping out, which is one of the things that we really struggled with against Bayern today. Once again, we struggle with it because Azpilicueta is left with 2-on-1 because Moses is all the way up the field. So, I don't know. He's not playing poorly. He still has moments where he shows why he's out there, why he can do what he can do. But overall, he's not as effective as I've seen him before. He's not the player that's out there and is changing the game because of his work rate and because of what he can do on the ball. I just haven't seen that player this preseason. So, kind of disappointed with him, but hopefully he can improve and get back to the player that we expect. In the midfield, Fabregas and Conte called under a lot of question from the last game against Bayern because their midfield really did run over them. Today looked a bit better. I will say Fabregas definitely looks a lot slower, and once again, he's another one of those players that I don't know if it's because he's tired or if he's just kind of slow. But the game against Arsenal, I thought he was really quick. The game against Fulham, even, the few highlights I saw, he looked really quick on the ball. He looked like he could turn, have a quick pass out of nothing. He looked quicker than he was last season. Past two games, he hasn't. He's looked a lot slower, and it could be because he's still the player I saw last season, kind of like Cahill, or it could be because he's tired. I don't know. I suppose we'll see when we finally get into the season. We'll see whether or not he is actually improved from last season or not. But Conte, because there are fewer players in the midfield to deal with from Inter's side, he definitely looked a lot better today. He didn't have to do as much of a job as he did last game, so definitely helped him out a lot. Still think, though, there are a few moments where he makes mistakes with his passing that can lead to some dangerous situations. Obviously, he's quick enough to where if he does give up a pass, most of the time he can step in and win it right back. But there are some times where you want him to just make a simple pass, and it's like it's too hard or it's misplaced, and now the player's having to chase it. There was one in particular, all he had to do was just lay it off to Alonso, and he put it about 10 yards behind him. So, I don't know, it's just there are moments where he has those mistakes, and you don't expect it from a player of his quality. You don't expect him to make those mistakes. So he still needs to cut that out of his game just because the rest of it is really good. The rest of what he does is really, really good. So I thought overall, though, he definitely had a much better game today. But that was mainly held by the fact that he didn't have as much to do today as he did against Bayern, which he was just pretty much running around trying to do everything, and it didn't look good. Up into the front three, I like the idea of Batshuayi up top with Murata and Willian behind. I like that idea. I like the fact that we could put two strikers up there and have sort of one of them stepping in behind, but it didn't work, in my opinion. I don't know if maybe it's because Murata needs to be the one up top with Batshuayi dropped off. I don't know if it's because, neither of them can play in behind and one of them just has to be that central man. But yeah, it didn't work out today. Murata was constantly dropping into the midfield to try to pick it up and do something with it, and a couple times he did, but then he couldn't find the pass, or there's nobody else up with him, really. Batshuayi wasn't making the right runs to help him out. Willian was holding onto the ball too long, and it felt like, he should just cut somebody and find a pass, but he's trying to dribble everybody, and it's leading to great run, oh, but he's still dribbling, and now I'm off sides. So, I don't know, I think the main thing about it is they didn't work well together. I think all of them tried to do stuff on their own, and I think they had flashes of brilliance every now and then. But the fact of the matter is, the one reason why we had such a great year last season, attacking wise, with Hazard, Pedro, Costa up top, they worked well together. They're making runs off of each other. Costa is drawing two defenders to him. Hazard's drawing two defenders to him. Pedro is now either wide open or he only has one defender who he can easily beat. So, that's how it worked. You work off of each other. You make runs off of each other. You draw defenders away to open up space for somebody else. I didn't see that today. I saw Murata doing his thing. I saw Batshuayi doing his thing. And I see Willian doing his thing. And they were all individuals today. And it showed. We got like 3 good chances with them up top. And the closest one was the one where Fabregas intercepted it and Batshuayi turned and had it hit just wide of the post. And I want to say that was after Murata and Willian already came off. So, yeah, all 3 of them today, I'll just say that they were not helped by the fact that they didn't play together. It didn't look like they were really clicking together. So, individually, it's really hard to rate them, but I'll say Batshuayi probably had the best game of the 3, considering he's been starting every single game and playing quite a bit, too. He played more today than the other 2 did. And he still created a few chances for himself. He still needs to be a bit stronger, though, just because there are a few times where he should be holding up the ball, but he's getting knocked off of it a little too easily. But he still did create a few chances just from his work rate alone. Murata, I was kind of disappointed in just because I thought he should be a lot more fresh, having only played, 30 minutes last game, and that's it. I really thought he would come in with fresher legs and look very quick in the first, half hour, however long it took in the first half to really get him going. I thought it was going to just be him running the show in the first half, but he had a few runs and that was it. I didn't see a whole lot of running from him. It looked like he was dead after 1. So, I don't know, maybe he's just still trying to get into his fitness, but yeah, I don't know. I was really disappointed with just the fact that he looked the most out of shape of those front 3, and he's the one that's played the least of those front 3. And then Willian, like I said, I think he dribbles too much. I don't know if it's because he doesn't think the run is there or if he's not picking his head up, but either way, you got to beat that one player and then have a shot, cross it, pass it, something. But instead, he beats the one player and then he stands it up. He's waiting. And then he cuts and then he's trying to run past him, and now he's running into 4 defenders because they've all gotten back into the box now. So that was my biggest disappointment with him. Into the second half, to talk about the subs really fast. Some of them obviously didn't have much time on the field, so it's hard to really judge their performance. But the first one to come on was Rudiger. Came on for Alonso, pushed Spilicueta out to the right, Moses came over to the left, and we did look more solid defensively, mainly because we had speed on the wing-backs. That's big. Alonso doesn't have that speed, and that's been, I think, the biggest problem on our left side is you put somebody up there with a ton of speed, just this good acceleration. Alonso and Cahill can't keep up, and now they're in a ton of space because nobody's catching them. So you put Moses on the left side, now he's got the speed. Spilicueta is very good defensively on the right. Rudiger himself looked pretty good. He didn't really have a whole lot to do defensively because at the point when he came in, they were already 2-0 up, so they were mainly looking to counter whenever they could. But for the most part, they dropped like 11 players in, so he didn't really have a whole lot uh, of defensive work to do in our box. Most of it was done either at the midfield or just tracking back, chasing somebody. But he looked pretty good, looks solid. I know he's very young, so there's a chance it may take some time for him to grow into the team. But I'm excited to see what he can bring to it. Very good size, very good speed as well for a defender. Next up was Murata. Willian came off, and then Boga and Musonda came in. Kind of surprised to see Musonda up there just because there was a lot of talk about him going into the wingback positions. He and Kennedy have been talked about for a while. So I was interested to see him go up almost like in behind the striker role. But he, honestly, of those two, I think he was the most lively. He has a lot of speed. He had a lot of energy today. Really quick on the ball, too. So from what I saw today, I mean, I know a lot of people. I've seen so many Chelsea fans just give Musonda a chance. Give him a chance. Give him a chance. From what I saw today, he looked like he's earned a chance. Maybe give him some time in the Community Shield. It's still considered a preseason thing. Obviously, it's a trophy. It was part of Man U's treble last season. So if you want to get that one and then win 2 more trophies and call our own treble, which I really hope we don't, because that's just stupid. But I mean, the Community Shield is a chance not just for you to play your first team and really get a feel playing against another English side that's up there. And on top of that, playing in Wembley, so that's even better. But it's also a good chance to get a few players rotated in to see how they play against another English side and their top players. So I don't know. He is a player that I think would really benefit from a chance to play against Arsenal. Just because I think he hasn't played at all this preseason. I don't know if he got time against Fulham. I don't think he did. But he didn't get to play the last 2 games. He got to play today, and from what I saw, looked like he took his chance pretty well. So Boga looks okay still. I thought he looked his best against Arsenal. He looked really quick. He was really just taking them on. Really had a lot of confidence. But against Bayern, that confidence led to he's in a 2-on-1 situation, and he can't handle that. Today, he gets out there and he's trying to dribble people. He's trying to make people. He's trying to pass it through their legs. And he's just trying to be too fancy almost. I'd prefer he just keep it simple. He's got quick feet. He looks very fast. I prefer he just cut somebody and then lay it off or have an easy pass in behind instead of, oh, your legs are open. I'm going to pass it right through them. And then the player just shuts their legs and it bounces off of them. And now all of a sudden they're countering on us. So I think I don't mind seeing some confidence. I do not mind seeing a player, especially a young player, go out there and try to exert themselves, try to show what they can do. Go out there with confidence. I completely agree. But at some point you have to say, okay, I'm not going to try to be all fanciful and stuff like that, because if it doesn't work out, then you just look like an idiot. So that was my biggest complaint with him, but he still did come out with a lot of energy. That's good to see. And then the rest of them were just, it was a full team change almost. So we'll go one by one. Remy came on for Batshuayi. Didn't see much of him. He had a few chances to maybe break in on a cross ball, but didn't look aware of it. In the middle was Pasalic and Scott. Pasalic had a few chances to create something in the middle, but didn't really take those chances, unfortunately. So I don't know if he's really shown Conte anything that's going to say, hey, give me a chance this season. Scott looked a lot better than he did against Arsenal. I thought he looked very nervous against Arsenal, like he wasn't really sure if he was supposed to be out there or not. But today looked a lot more confident, looked like he was ready to play, moved the ball around very well. So he looked better today, and that was good to see. Tomori and Christian Cuevas on the left, Tomori on the right. Cuevas is a player that I only know because of Football Manager. I have not actually seen him a part of the youth team at all. I think he was on loan last season, maybe the past 2 seasons even. But he's a young player that I've only seen in Football Manager, and that's it. So to see him today, looked pretty good on the left wing back role. Looked pretty good, quick acceleration wise. As far as on the ball, he had one pretty good cross, low hard across the box that somebody could have broken onto. The keeper ended up having to make a pretty decent save because it was a possibility it could even hit the post and come back in. But aside from that, he didn't have much to do defensively. He looks pretty small as well, so I don't know. He'd probably be more of like a quick fullback getting up and down the line instead of, like a Tamori or Alonso who can win the ball in the air if they try to chip it over him. So I'll be interested to see if he could handle that. But from what I saw, first time seeing him, he has a chance. I don't think he's quite there, but he does have a chance to possibly, get some time against maybe the little teams that we face this season in the FA Cup and the League Cup. So I'm excited to see a bit more of him. Tamori has continued, I think, to improve as this preseason's gone on. He's continually stepped into that right wing back role every game. And today, even though he didn't have a whole lot of time, he still looks like he's growing in confidence, and that's great to see. He's a player that I've heard about quite a bit. I think he got a bit of time, I want to say, at the end of 2 seasons ago. So he is a young player that I know has been coming through the ranks, and from what I've seen from him so far, he looks pretty good. He's very tall especially if he's going to be at that wing-back role. He's very tall for that, but he's got a good bit of speed. His pass is really good. His defense is really good as well. So I don't know. I'm excited to see if he can possibly start to get some more time and break into at least the backup role, because we do need more backup for our wing-backs and a replacement for Alonso too. And then Clarke-Salter was the last one to come on, replaced Cahill on the left side of the three center backs. He's, didn't have a whole lot of time to do anything, but he did step out and win one ball, so he did something. At least that's always good to see. You get like 5 to 10 minutes to play. Hey, go out there and do something, and he won the ball. He almost created a chance at the very end off of the cross that came in. So overall, like I said, it's preseason still, so you don't want to get too disappointed by it. You realize that there are some mistakes from the referees that led to this. There are some still butterflies working out. There are some players who have been playing a lot this preseason, probably worn out, not playing at their best. So all I can say is, based on what I've seen throughout this preseason, I'll say there's definitely a lot of improvement to be made. I think we still need to make 2 or 3 more signings, quality signings, to really step up our quality on the field. One, obviously, is the wingback role. Like I said, Alonso proved the last 2 games that he doesn't have the quality to do it. He may be able to have that one game in the season. If he's playing every other week, probably could do pretty well, but he cannot play consistently well. He has 1 good game and then 2 terrible games. Defensively, we either need to incorporate some of these young players like Christensen, like Rudiger, like even Clarke-Salter, even if he can step up and show his worth. We need to incorporate some of these youth players, or we need to go sign another really quality center back. Because, Rudiger is a good player, but from what I've seen from Cahill, he's definitely not cutting it. And I know he's our captain. I know they're probably going to try to play him a lot this season, but he's not cutting it. And it's really affecting our back line as a whole. And then finally, I'd say probably go get 1 more center mid. I know we already picked up Bakayoko, but the chances are we are going to sell Matic. And right now, I think Conte, Fabregas, Bakayoko, quality 3 center mids, but we've got a lot of games. And if one of them gets injured, I don't know if Pasalic is the player that's going to step in and handle that role. So I'd say go get 1 more, probably even one that can definitely step in and handle the role. I just think that's an area we definitely need to improve on a lot. But aside from that, overall, pretty good showing in the preseason. I'm excited for this season just because we do look like we're more ready than we were a few seasons ago when we won and then came back and just looked terrible in preseason. We look like we're ready to try to defend our title as well as challenge for the Champions League. We got a lot of young players that did impress in this preseason, did show that they're capable of stepping in if we need somebody that's going to step in for a game or 2, if somebody's injured, if somebody's suspended. So overall, I'd say a positive preseason showing, and that's about it for me. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What did you think about this game and in the preseason in general? Let me know. We can talk about it and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews. I'll see you guys in the next game. Peace out.